So this session is may appear, I suppose, slightly disorganized, but I would like to have input from you guys. I'm going to call out a demo, and if you don't like me to do that demo, let's just move on and do a next one. And when the time is up, the time is up, and you will have learned something. That's the goal, hopefully, and I do hope you will enjoy it. But again, you guys are awesome for being here. Thank you. Have you ever had this scenario where the boss comes into your office and demands a new demo environment for a customer presentation? Totally disrupts your flow. And the testers, what about those pesky testers coming into your office saying, well, if you don't get that latest bits deployed to the test site, that story is not going to be part of the sprint goal. You know? That's how they sound. Maybe they don't exactly sound like that, but they kind of sound like that in our heads, right? And anyone in here ever deployed the development connection string to live production? Anyone? Come on. Yes, I have. And it's a pain. It's a giant pain when that happens. So on Azure, historically, it took about 20 minutes to deploy something. And there wasn't really any error checking, so if you did something wrong, and after that 20 minutes had gone by, and it just didn't start, you're like, okay, now what? Right? But most of that has gone away now, which is great, because now basically you get, with Windows Azure Web Sites, so darn it, Microsoft Azure Web Sites, you can basically get immediate deploy times. And you can get many of these errors that used to bother you now are basically built in as warnings in the system before you even deploy anything. And oh, by the way, because it's so fast, it doesn't really matter if something breaks. You can just immediately roll back and get out of there and go back to the previous version or deploy again. It's not a problem. I mean, if it's just comment out the development connection string, comment in the production connection string, and republish, that's a fast operation. Seconds only. Hopefully your boss will never notice. But anyway, the stuff that we're going to talk about today is going to take that, remember the boss and the testers. We're going to make those guys go away. Sound good? That's what this session is about. And so I've really enjoyed doing this session. It's a fun session. Anyway, my job is I've started my own consultancy. Here are my business cards, if anyone would care to have one. It's great to be in Azure right now, and as a most valuable professional, I really feel that I can help businesses and companies to sort of take them to the next step on the cloud. That's my whole business idea. So if you have any of those challenges, or you know anyone who does, please call me. Thanks. All right. The Global Windows Azure Lab that we did for the Global Windows Azure Bootcamp, there were a couple of people in the last audience who knew what this was. Anybody in here who knows? Yeah, just a few up front here. The Global Windows Azure Bootcamp went live all over the world, and we built a huge application on one single day, starting over here in Auckland. I was in Japan. Starting over in Auckland, through all the time zones, ending up in Honolulu. The entire event took about 27 hours, and it was about 139 locations with thousands of people learning about the cloud. There were 3 locations in Sweden, and it was huge. We had a lot of fun with it. That's the type of event that I love to do. And Cloudburst is a conference which also takes place here in Stockholm, so it's going to be, no dates? Oh, darn it. September. 18th, 19th September. The Cloudburst conference is a free-to-attend event here in Akalla, probably in the Vision Room, the biggest one. And it's the third one we're going to do it, third time we're going to do it, and we also stream it live online, and it ends up as a Channel 9 event, also on Channel 9 afterwards. And we, the Swedish Microsoft Azure User Group, which I just realized has the abbreviation SMOG, cool. I just found that out today. We used to be SWAG. We didn't want to be SMAG, so now we're SMOG. So that's cool. Look out for that event, because we invite basically MVP speakers, brilliant speakers, and just pack 2 days with great content. So look out for that one. And also this. which I told about in the last room as well. The Developer Roadshow. After today, I go to Skellefteå. I go from Stockholm to Skellefteå. I live in Malmö, but I go to Skellefteå for tomorrow's Developer Roadshow event with Microsoft and with my colleague Anders Bratland. And then we're going to keep going and wind up here in Stockholm on the 29th of April, and there's still room on the 29th of April if you want more of the latest web technologies and Azure stuff. All right, enough about that. Let's continue. This is all very new stuff. Microsoft just came out with, let's think a brand new Visual Studio there. Just launched at the Build conference last week some new version of the tooling for building websites and such. And I've installed that stuff, and some of it is not working. I actually have a discussion on the internal alias about this, but that's a separate story. So if I now say I want to create myself a brand new ASP.NET application, we're talking just about a website, no cloudy stuff, just a website. This is the experience now. See this part down here? That's the part which is not working, and it's new. So when you just create a website, you just want to play around with a website, Microsoft assumes, actually that's checked by default, assumes that, oh, you also want to create yourself a free hosting environment in Azure, right? Of course, because it's free and it's just a click away. You just say next, next, finish, and oh darn, did I also get Azure resources? How cool. Because every MSDN subscription, which you probably have, and even if you don't, you have a regular account, every account comes with 10 free websites. So if you just have a web project, you might as well have an Azure website for it. You're not paying for it. So that's sort of the road, the path that Microsoft is taking us down now. And if I click this thing, it's going to actually, I won't do it. Yeah, well. See. It's probably going to say, yeah, that's what it says, so forget about it. So I can't do that now. Doesn't matter. The point, though, is that it's not so much a demo as to actually show you that Microsoft is going in this direction. They want to make cloud developers of all of us. And to be fair, this is a website. It's got nothing to do with any Azure-y stuff. The hosting environment you get included in the box or in the package when you go file a new project is just a hosting slot in Azure for your website. And again, it's free. Really is. So why not have a testing environment in Azure for your testers when it's just included? So that's how Microsoft is trying to sell their product now, right? Because they've built a couple of $1 billion into lots of data centers. Now they want to actually have people to use them. So they're trying to enable us to be very, very streamlined and easy to do so, which is cool. That's what's happening anyway. And also, there's a new portal. There's a new Windows Azure portal. Do you guys know about this? So the new portal has moved back to portal.azure.com. The first portal, which was Silverlight, was windows.azure.com, which is now closed down. The current portal is manage.windowsazure.com, right? But this is portal.azure.com, the next portal. So it's going to look something like this. And the goal here is to make it very much more easy for you to just create stuff. Let's see if I can do that now. I've had some issues in here as well. Does it say preview in the corner? Yeah, it does. Probably don't want to use this on your on a day-to-day basis right now. Let's see. Let's use that account. I have a couple. I'm just going to have to reload because it starts up with my default account as always. Right. So if I want to make a new website in here, there's a point to me doing this. TechX was free, so free West Europe. That's perfectly fine. Create. So now we're just creating in the portal a website again, as always. But in here, of course, there is also complete integration and synchronization and stuff with the Visual Studio Online, so that you can choose soon to also create a project, team project, that's what they call it, right? A team project in Visual Studio Online, so that you have your work items and your source control and your build server, and everything is just integrated and everything's just fast and beautiful. Out of the box, you just say create and you're done. You got it. It's all there. It's all set up. You don't have to bother about anything at all. So they're working really hard, success, with this. So I get to scroll down here. There's all the website stuff in here. All the fun website stuff that you can get with the monitoring, the analytics, and everything is in here. How much usage, the quotas of your site, and everything is in there. And also set up continuous deployment. So I'm going to see if this works now. I've had some problems, but yeah. Oh, well, maybe. No, the problem is here. Look, I can't click in here. Darn it! It doesn't actually work. So, and I can't choose use an existing project either. But if this would have worked, gosh darn it. Okay, so if you look at what happened here, everything that I add goes to the right, and Microsoft in the new portal, they like to call this a journey. And here I can see that I'm on a journey right now, and I can sort of move down in this tree, if you will, to different options and add and change and fix different options and set up stuff. But if we're talking about creating a website project with source control, with the task board, with the build server, everything continuously deployed and integrated and all set up, and it takes me about 7 clicks to do it. It's like, beat that, right? They'd have to write your website to make it faster. I mean, it's just silly. And I love it. I gotta say, I love it, because now there is no excuse for anything anymore, really. And you probably know that for up to 5 users for a team, it's not called Team Foundation Service anymore, it's called Visual Studio Online. Up to 5 users for Visual Studio Online is going to be for free forever. So if you have a small team, a small startup project, you're not paying for that. If you host your dev test environments on free websites, you're not paying for that. So, right, I know I sound a little bit like a used car salesman here, and it's not intentional. I'm sort of reciting the facts, but I don't sell Azure per se. Hopefully I sell enthusiasm around the platform. But there you go. Any thoughts to that? What do you think about this? Is this good, or is it just annoying?
It's good as long as your managers not saying that you need a cloud strategy to do anything in the cloud first.
Oh, you don't want the managers to come into this picture? You don't want the managers to come in and say you need a cloud strategy. You just want to... Well, that's sort of... I hear what you're saying, and I agree. It's sort of a good thing, really, at this point, that you can actually just... I mean, your company probably has MSDN subscriptions. All you need to do is activate the Azure resources on them. They are included in the MSDN subscription, but I don't know, the 50, right? And they still say no?
They say we need a strategy, and it's not finished.
We need a strategy for the cloud. All right. So I think I might have some, yeah. Oh, that is such a great segue. Thank you. Thank you. So this is the picture that I use to canonically discuss the fact that humans don't like changes, right? We don't like changes. When they saw these things coming rolling down the streets without a horse in front of them, they were carriages, right? They were automatically able to be mobile on their own. They were automobiles, right? And people were like, oh my God, it's the carriage of death. Ah, it doesn't have a horse, devil. And some of these designs, except for the horse's head, which kind of makes sense, it also had a whip holder. Because, if you don't have a whip holder, where are you going to put the whip, right? So you need a whip holder, of course. Right. So humans don't like changes, and I love the segue. Thank you. But if you're looking at dev test environments, you see this scenario, right? You have your computers set up for the day, and you work, and you build, and you test, and you deploy, and you make sure that everything integrates, and the testers are happy, and everything is just running. And then you go home in the evening, and you shut everything off. And you don't pay for anything at all. There's no cost. Because you have a full testing environment with everything that you need, and you can just shut it off and go home. And your company is not paying for those hours when you're at home sleeping. If you have those servers, those test servers, and all that set up on-premise, you're paying for it always. So strategy, in my opinion, you want to set up this. You want continuous delivery, right? So what you can do is you can sit down and code. You can set all this up, code, check in or commit or push or, depending on your source control flavor, Git or team version or whatever, right? Commit your code, and the build server picks it up and builds it, runs all the tests, and deploys everything automatically into production, by the way. Into production. But you can't do that. You got to have a cloud strategy. You got to have the test lead sign off on this thing. There are deliverables and there are documents and things, right? Well, wrong. Well, actually, it's right. I don't. That's fine. That's your process. But think about it this way: which startup company today gets some precious venture capital and thinks that, why don't we go and buy some servers, and then we spend like an hour, like an afternoon, screwing them together, putting all the cords inside of them, pushing them into a closet, booting them up, installing them, taking care of those guys, right? Because that's what we need now with our precious venture capital. We need some servers to start to be able to build stuff to and then deploy on, right? That's what we need. How many startups think like this today? 0. They never owned a server, and they never will. Never. They will never think like that. And if your companies do, I don't mean that like pointing a finger, but think about it. What does that mean to you, right? Does that mean anything? It should. It should mean something, because those guys will be so much faster. So much faster. They will never own hardware. That's a game changer. That's called disruptive technology. Yes, sir?
Maybe it's a difficult question, but obviously you're talking to us, and we see this. Or
Yes.
we see this, but do you know if Microsoft has a strategy of communicating this to the people who need to be told it?
Right. So, yes. Question is, it's a great question. Mostly developers in the room. Any IT pros in the room? I consider myself mostly an IT pro. Yes, a few. But other than that, developers, right? Yes, almost all of you. And managers, my majority of what I do is a manager. None. Right. And you all understand. So I'm basically preaching to the choirs, right? You're here. You understand this. How do I take the message home and create a strategy for a company? How do we? What's the plan of doing that? Well, I can tell you one way of doing it. You could bring me. That's one way of doing it. Well, arm wrestle with your manager. No, but it's a serious, valid point. And I hope that some of the points that I made here can be something that you can take home with you, so that what I just said was a little bit valuable. Like, it's already included. It's for free. The setup is so fast, and we shut it off in the evenings when remove the databases and nothing costs anything. Right? It's all there. Come on, it's a no-brainer. Really is. You don't need a strategy to have a brain. Oh, well, fortunately the managers are not in the room then. But seriously, it's come to a point where Microsoft is doing everything they can. Right? Again, I'm not Microsoft. Microsoft is doing everything they can to enable us as developers to do a great job, fast, and awesome, and continuous delivery, and everything just out of the box. And in some cases, managers they just say, well, we don't get it. What's the cloudy thingy? Why do we use that? Yes?
As soon as you mention the word cloud, everything stops.
Right. Well, it's a sad fact, and it goes to show that what I'm talking about here, even though I am preaching to the choirs, is something you need to hear in companies in Sweden today. And it's a really, really sad fact. So one thing that we haven't done in this country, I digress. I was supposed to be talking about websites. Just a little bit more then. We have time. So again, hopefully this is important to you guys, because if you're not using cloud, you should. And if you can't, then you should be enabled to. How? I forgot what I was going to say. Because this actually upsets me a little bit. It's like an insult to developers who want to do a good job. Because it's already there. It is a no-brainer. I'm going to try to steer away from this hot topic. If you want to have more ammunition to send your managers' way, talk to me afterwards. I'm going to be here all afternoon. And I'm going to try to focus on what we're supposed to be doing, automation. Right? That's the good part. Because everything that can be automated must be automated. I wonder who said that. I did. So luckily, there's support for this in Azure, and that's why we're here. You all know that there are 3 ways to put your applications on Azure. 3 major ways that your code can run in Azure. It's the virtual machines, which is infrastructure as a service, and then there's cloud services and websites, which is platform as a service. All right? And Microsoft believes something, that platform as a service provides the best foundation for creating, running, and managing custom applications, the best foundation. Doesn't mean that they don't like infrastructure as a service. Of course they do, and that's very important too. And in many scenarios, things actually run best that way, but not all things. So generally speaking, my strategy now is, if we're talking all about virtual machines and servers and things like that, is to work in a direction where you lift the conversation from the hardware. You're still kind of attached to the hardware, at least you're attached to the operating system and the virtual machine, which has, you need to patch it and clean out the logs and pat it, and it's just a little thing, right? It's like a Tamagotchi, right? but when you're talking about platform as a service, you should run applications, and you should run applications to serve your business, and you shouldn't really be thinking too hard or too much about the underlying platform. It's an abstraction that you don't need to care too much about. And very quickly, this was just when Microsoft went online with Windows Azure Web Sites. There were a few different ways to publish to the cloud, and then they added some more. And I went and did a very custom version there down in the corner that I'd like to show if you want to see it. But if we have many options. So I could do a demo on any of these. I don't want to show DropBox. It's cute, but but you can sync a DropBox folder with a website. It is kind of cool. The scenario would be like if we have designers, you create them a website, like just publish the website, put it in a DropBox folder where they can reach it, and they can fiddle with the design until they're happy, and sync it back up with the site in development, of course, and so you can see what it looks like. That's a great scenario, because the developers, the designers, Windows Azure Portal, what? Visual Studio? No. Nah, not so much. So you can sync it back in with the DropBox folder, so it's fine. But that's the least exciting option here, of course. There may be some more options, but I think Microsoft basically covered all the big ones by now. So these are all demos that I could potentially do for you today. And this is sort of where you guys come in. We have some time left. We have about half. Yeah, we have about half time left. So what are you interested in? Are you interested in Team Foundation Service? Are you interested in Git, Hub? GitHub is good. I'm not hearing anything. I have time. Team Foundation. That's usually a favorite. I get that. I totally get that. Actually, I think I could go here. So I have on my drive here, I have some code samples for this event, TechX, and some demos. So I have, let's see, Team Foundation Service demo folder, which is empty. And if I want to have my website set up on Azure now, what I have to do is get that. Do you guys have this URL? Do you have your own? Let's see. We're getting there. We're being signed in. There. Do you have your own name? .visualstudio.com? Or your company name .visualstudio.com? You got to get that before, get it while it's hot. I have mine, and I think it's kind of fun. So I can play in here, and I can, just do whatever I like. Just so happens that I have one in here, project that I created called TechX Vanilla. I think it's empty. And yeah, it should be empty. There's no code in here? Well, if there is, I'll just create a new one. Yeah, actually, no, there isn't. There is no code in here. Cool. So this is empty. And now I'm going to go and connect to it using Visual Studio here. And in full screen, I don't have the Team Explorer up. So Team Explorer. Developer Roadshow. No. Let's connect to another one. There we go. And I've got that one right there. So this is in Visual Studio Online, my code. And I wanted to have a website to publish, but I don't have one yet. Right. So now that we're connecting to Visual Studio Online, you can see that this TechX Vanilla folder is not mapped to any location on disk. So let's do that. Map it to my demo folder here. This is just Team Foundation server, like always, right? There's no news here. I get the stuff into my folder. Then I have a website, which I have prepared, that I'm going to put in there and launch Visual Studio. Now it's getting exciting. So now we have a website soon. And we also would like to publish this to Azure, right? That's what we wanted to do. So why don't we, which subscription am I in? Oh, my Microsoft demo one, that's cool. Create Magnus. Is that available? I think I already did that one, so. All right. Create ourselves a new website. While we're creating that, it only takes a few seconds, for those of you who don't already know. The website is there, and I could go and just F5 it. This is just a website, right? Now, I want to go and, of course, source control, add to source control. So I'll add it to my source control, and I now have a local change, which I need to commit. And it's already set up with my project here, which there's no code checked in yet. So I needed another website, and I have it right there. And now, what we want to do, it's actually done here from the dashboard easily, set up deployment from source control. Visual Studio Online. Then I need to authorize. One-time thing. Authorize Team Visual Studio Online to get access to my website. See, I have lots of, this is just a demo account. TechX Vanilla. So we're linking up now the Visual Studio Online project with my Microsoft Azure website. And Visual Studio Online will build and deploy your project to Windows Azure, Microsoft Azure, on your next check-in. So that's why I didn't check in yet, to show you guys. So we'll put that over there. We'll put this over there. And we'll say, pending changes. initial, blah, blah. Check in. Now this is going to take a while. It's more effective when I show this with the version of using Git, because it's faster. I'm going to talk about that. Why? On God's green earth, is this faster? Why is this slow? We have a queued build here. So this build, which is now taking place on the source, on the build server, obviously, on the agent, it's probably soon connected to an agent. This was all set up when? When did we set this up? Anybody venture a guess? When did this build thingy, this build definition get created? When we linked up the projects to the website. This is a default template. They just stamp out a new one and say, okay, fine, we need a build on this thing. And let's see, how's it going? Yeah, so it's running. And it's now assigned to an agent in Azure, and it's now building. So it's going to build my code, it's going to run my tests, and it's going to deploy my website into Azure for us. That is how easy it is. I think that's really fun. Again, it takes a while. And in the meantime, we could discuss why Git is faster. It'll be obvious soon. Anyone have any questions while this is happening? Are you running TFS on-premise today? Some are. What else are you running? As a build server? Anybody? You have build servers? Yes, nods. And the build server name is? What? Team City. Team City is a darn good build server. I love it. Now, as a consultant, I really don't have the luxury of saying that I prefer one over the other, because every customer that I come to, I have a different one. So I just roll with it. If you have Team City, do that. If you have Team Foundation Server, let's do that. That's fine. I believe that the answer here is, so long as you have automation, I really don't care which one. But you have to have it. You have to have automated builds. You have to have automated deployments and running your unit tests. And all of that stuff has to happen. And if it doesn't, you're doing something wrong, because it's this easy to set it up. And you get this extra check, so that when I commit my code from my machine, I know that it's built on a different system. So that if I forgot to check in a file or whatever I did, that will become immediately noticeable. Okay, so this is still going on. Takes a couple of minutes to do it. And I'd like to see it start running. It's running MS Build right now. This is the first time it's running. One thing to note while this is happening is that you can also go into Visual Studio and look. And if you choose the right Visual Studio, then you can look. And you can go into Builds. And, I don't think double click is the right, it might be. You can edit your build definition for the build. And that's pretty much the same as you used to. You can set, is this continuous integration, what's the source control settings, and what are these things? These are reasonable defaults. But you can change these, and you have access to those files, because they are in your repository automatically. When you create the team project, you get the template script files. So you can change those to match your settings and your needs. And you can also look at the thing happening in here. Let's see. It's running MS Build, right? Yeah.
Can you watch the log file?
If I can look in the log file. I can indeed look in the log file. So I can see the whole build and everything that's happening. Complete log. And something happened. On the way to heaven. Sorry about that. It seems to have an error here. We have a build fail or a test fail. There's a test called some test which failed. All right? So I had a unit test in my code which wasn't functional. But let's fix it, right? The usual way. Let's fix it the usual way and go back and check in again. And we're not going to wait for the entire process to continue to complete, but I just wanted to point out fixed the test. That's a great check-in comment, right? I mean, it's very specific. I only have one test, so it's very, very specific. Oh, it's actually not the right place to do it, though. We need to go into the pending changes, right? And put it there. So check in again. And a new build is going to start up. So it's going to check in my fixed unit test, which is now going to pass. And it's going to build and do everything again, and it's going to go all the way through and deploy. Right? So automatically, it sets up unit tests with reasonable defaults and runs everything. So you get all these things all set up, and it took me, what, exactly 2 minutes to set it up on stage, live, for real. Any questions? I think this is awesome. I would not develop any code any differently, and there's no way that I would develop code differently, than this, because it has everything I need. Question?
How do you do test-driven development when you are developing for a service like SharePoint Online? Because when you work with a service like that, most logic is actually happening
Right.
in the service. And
Right.
Even if you write mocks for it, they really won't simulate much. It will be just dumb objects.
How do you do test-driven development when you're testing against a real service, basically like SharePoint Online? Well, I mean, there's nothing that stops you from having your unit tests be integration tests. So you can run them against a real service, but you would have to have some sort of boxed, fenced off SharePoint service to work against. You probably wouldn't want to run your tests against your production environment and change stuff in there in your tests. It's perfectly doable. It's not, I didn't say it was easy, but you can do it. But here anyway, what you're doing here is you're running unit tests. So if you can create a unit test for it, and how do you work with integration against a real service? That's a whole session or several sessions. And it's not really the session right now. But I'd love to talk to you about this more outside. Absolutely. So that was the Team Foundation service demo. That was it. Now it's deploying again. It's coming back and it's going to do it all over again. So yeah, I think you go there and you go there. That one is completed, and there's the new one. And it's going to go all the way through this time into deployment. Would you like me to show you another option here? Another deployment version. I think we have less than 20 minutes, but we have time. And as I said, there's no way that this topic fits in 1 hour. So when the time is up, we stop. so don't feel bad if I want to do this demo. Yes.
What about the fast one?
The fast one, the Git one. Somebody said Git over here. Git is good. Git is always good. Just get down to it. We need a Git shell. Actually, didn't start this one up. I should have. So let's go back to the files I have on disk here. I have demos. So let's do a new folder, Git demo. Oh, actually, that was the name of it. Let's do a new folder, Git demo 2. So now I have this path, and we need to go to it. And we do git init. So now we have a Git repo locally on disk. You also, I'm going to go ahead and do GitHub, because I kind of like GitHub, if that's okay with you. I mean, it works with local Git. You could have your own Git server. It's the same thing. You could have only your local Git repository. Still the same thing. But I'm going to go ahead and do a GitHub because I've got some code in there which we can use. And I happen to have an account over at GitHub. And I have Git demo. Yeah, I have a Git demo there, and there's a website in there, and there are some tests. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can copy that, and I'm going to do a git clone that. Now I'm getting the code from the repository. In this scenario, I had the code in GitHub already. I'm now getting a local clone of that code. And it might take just a few seconds to do it. I'll get rid of the TFS demo while we wait. Get us a fresh Visual Studio. Actually, I think I can double click. Might take time here, and if it does, oh, interesting. Well, not so good then. You might want to go with a local one. We could do that. We can go with a local one instead. That's fine, which is why I have a separate copy of the code on my disk. So let's use that instead. Now it's the same demo as last time. That's fine. I have a Git demo. So I'm developing on my local drive, and I have my local Git repository, and I'm launching Visual Studio here. So have a look at that. And also, of course, what we need to do is, see, now we have files, so we need to do a git add all of them, git commit with a message, right? And then what? What do we do with it? Well, we need to put it on Azure, right? And it's not on Azure now. And so we'll go over on Azure and say, actually, let's do this. Let's be wild and crazy. We'll do a new one. It's easier. It's the easiest way. So git, we'll call it git, and we'll create ourselves a new website, and then I think it's actually easier to do it from here. We'll say set up deployment from source control local Git repository. What happens now is that now Microsoft is creating a Git repository in Azure where this code will go. It's not going to be in GitHub or anything. It's going to be in that Git repository in Azure, and it gives us a URL for it. So I can do, because now if I go git push, what? It won't work because remotes, we don't have any destination. It's a local repository. It's not connected to Azure or anything. So if I do git remote add, give it a name, Azure, and that. Now we have a remote. Now we can send our code somewhere. We have a local commit on disk. And now we want to push it to Azure. And we're going to push Azure. And then we're going to put, it's going to be master. Master, that's our branch. And here we have, let's see. Right. Windows Azure will build and deploy your website on your next push. So now it's called a push. Let's do that. Unfortunately, I'm already authenticated and everything on my local box with Azure. It already knows me. So now, see if it's fast. Oh, actually, it does need my password. I can wait, but it's not going to happen unless I give it a password. Right, now we're pushing. Okay. to Azure. Push, 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 push. Code going up. Oh, deploying. And soon we're live. Slowly. And we're live. So we now have this. Okay. Fast enough? I think it's so fast that it's safe to say that we should do this again, just to prove another point, because it's a part of this this project. I brought up the code here, didn't I? And I have a view. Let's make a simple view change in the code. It said it was a new version, but let's change that to the new version 2. That's good. So we need to do the git add stuff. Oh, right, like that. Second one. Did I do it wrong? Oh, yeah, I can say git add. No, git add. This always happens on stage, right? Git add everything. Git push. Of course I was supposed to write push with a message. Second. No, not git push. Git commit. Nobody's helping me. Now git push Azure master. And it's going to be even faster because most of the files are already pushed, so we're only going to push the delta, which is just one small change in one small file, so we're already deploying. And if I now go to the website, you will see that it's the new version 2, right? And if I just made a mistake, it wasn't supposed to be 2. We weren't supposed to go live with that already. I can go back and redeploy the old version, which is also up there already. The only thing that Microsoft does when you say redeploy the old version, it's already redeployed. The only thing they do is actually they move a virtual directory mapping in the IIS. That's what they do. They move it from one folder to another one. That's what you told it to do. And the folder is already there, and it just goes live. There is 0 downtime, and it's lightning fast, which is why I see companies today actually going to production several times a day, many times a day, on every check-in, because it's safe. It's safe enough. They have all the unit tests running. They have all the setup, and everything is there. And if they make a mistake, they just take one step back. It's that simple. So that's the Git demo. You like? I love it.
Is it always that you have to have command line?
With Git? No, there's Visual Studio integration for Git as well. There are Visual Studio tools for Git or something like that. I know the command line thingy is, I have to be honest, I don't care for it much either. But with this demo, with this small demo, it's kind of effective. And I needed to do the add remote thing. That's not, I mean, you do that once, but I had to do all the steps in this demo. Normally, I'd go with Visual Studio integration with Git. It's not a common occurrence, though.
But you have Git in TFS?
Yeah. But that's, yeah, exactly. So you can use both the old Visual Studio Online source control, the standard one that we've always have, or you could use a distributed source control in the shape of Git, where you can then do the same kind of thing, commit locally, and then push your changes. Yes, merge and push. Great question. Any other question? Yes? If I have a unit testing framework preference, that is a great segue into another demo. Answer is no, I don't have a unit testing framework preference or a source control preference or a build server preference, but because again, I'm a consultant. I don't care which one you use. Use whichever one, and they're all pretty compelling, and they're all pretty effective. Some would go to war whether Team Foundation Server or Team City is better. I don't care. I really don't. So long as you have one, as long as you use them, right, and automate. That's the only answer, really. That's what matters. So guys, I want to show you something. This is probably going to be the last demo, but I kind of like this demo, so I'm going to do it whether you ask for it or not. I have in Azure, I'm actually going to have to change accounts. Over on, no, I'm actually on the right account. Am I? Yes, over on this account, which I am already on, I have a virtual machine running. And this virtual machine just so happens that it's running something that you can browse to. The virtual machine in Azure runs Team City, and I actually shut this down. I did this demo at TechEd in US about exactly 9 months ago, because when I started it up, I haven't done the demo since. When I started it up, it said the last build was 9 months ago. So really, it's for real. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to. Actually, what I can do because we're a little bit pressed for time, is I can probably kick off a build here. Where do you do that? Run it. Right. I can probably kick off a build here on this one, as if I were writing code on my local box. I have a demo called some other demo, and the some other demo deploys, pushes the code to GitHub, and then Team City, running on a virtual machine in Windows Azure, picks it up, builds it, runs the unit tests, and deploys it back to Azure the same way that Team Foundation Server does it. So there's no magic here. I mean, you can roll your own setup if you like, and if you want to see how to do this, the world's longest blog post is there. It really is very long. So the thing about this is that you're not gonna get the same. You're not gonna get the same support as you would for other stuff, because it is you have to roll your own. And I wrote the blog post about it, and it is 1,300 miles long. So every step of the way, everything you need to do is actually in there, and I suppose you need to do it only once. But you can, I can prove to you that you can set up Team City to do the exact same job as Microsoft is doing. And some people love, and I love Team City. Team City is awesome. Where did I put it? There. I think it's already done, actually. So we're going to head back to the portal to our websites. This some other demo website right here is already in Azure, and it's already integrated. Now, if we had more time, I would have, made a change and a push, and you've seen the whole thing going all the way through. But to come back, I didn't forget you. To come back to your question, which version do I like? Well, first of all, you can, if you don't like the build agents on Azure, you can actually create your own build agents and hook them into the Visual Studio Online experience. So you can put other unit testing frameworks, for instance, on your build agent and use those. But then you have to run your own agents, and that actually costs you a virtual machine. But you can do it if that's your poison. My some other demo, see if I have it here in history. Yeah, I do. My some other demo, which, lots of windows here, which runs, let's see, tests past one. It runs a test, right? There's a test running on the some other demo. And actually, I uncommented this. It's supposed to break, the same type of demo for Team Foundation Server, but we didn't run it here. So the code which is checked, it actually works. And as you can see, it's using NUnit. So not Microsoft unit testing. So you can roll your own. It's completely possible. Depends on how much pain you want to put yourself through, and how important it is that you're running NUnit rather than Microsoft unit testing. Fine. Yes, sir.
Can the build agents online access like external NuGet repositories?
If build agents online can access external NuGet repositories, of course.
Yeah, okay, so they have access to it.
Yeah, sure. They have access to the internet and everything. Yeah. So if you have your own NuGet server, you can definitely use that as part of your build agents, and they will pull the NuGets from your own source rather than NuGet.org. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
And a follow-up to that.
Yes.
Is it difficult to keep your own NuGet repositories?
Is it difficult to run your own NuGet repository? Is it? No, it's simple. It's simple. It's a very, very simple. I mean, you can basically there's like a lab script which you can follow and create yourself a little bit itty bitty website and running your little bitty NuGet exe something which acts as a and you get a URL for it, and you have your own NuGet, and you can have a password on that. So you can have your own private company NuGet source control or NuGet source with all your NuGets in it. Sometimes I've done that. It's kind of fun. It makes you feel a little bit powerful when you have that, when you have everything, right? So I've got all of it. Yeah, it's easy. Cool. Any other further questions? We're almost exactly out of time. There were lots of things that I didn't have time to show you guys, but I'm going to show you one last thing, because you already know now that I'm using TeamCity. You probably know this already, but if you go into a website, you can configure this guy to override app settings and connection strings. For those of you who don't know, this is a fun demo. I have a app setting here called disclose deployment method. And if I go and find it in my code, not that one, this one, you see that in my web config, I have an app setting called that, and it's actually deployed with the value false. And the website consequently shows you, I lost the website. The website shows you the site saying that we're on, should be here. Yeah, that one. The website shows you this, right? And if I go into and change the setting to true, I can hit save. And now I'm overriding in the portal in Azure, I'm overriding app settings, and I can override connection strings, which means that we can have development connection strings and development settings for in our source code, the stuff that we commit to the source control system is a connection string to a testing database or a local database or what have you. And then you have the same keys overridden in the in production. So when you commit and the build and the push and everything goes live, it overrides the settings. So that I can now do this, right? The stuff changed because I have an overridden. I have some code there that conditionally checks this. So no more accidentally deploying your connection strings to the development connection string to live production. All right, I think we're out of time. And as I said, there's no way to finish this topic in just 1 hour. So I hope you guys learned something and had a lot of fun. I'm going to be here the rest of the afternoon. Thank you guys for listening to this session.